Let me tell you something that most people discover too late in life. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against the world. It is not against your circumstances. It is not against your competition. The greatest battle you will ever fight is the battle within yourself. Because if you cannot master yourself, everything outside of you will control you. Your emotions will control you. Your fears will control you. Your habits will control you. Other people's opinions will control you. The world will constantly pull you in different directions, and you will spend your entire life reacting instead of creating. But when a person learns to master themselves, something changes. They become dangerous in the best possible way. They become unstoppable. Not because life becomes easier, not because problems disappear, not because everyone suddenly supports them. No, they become unstoppable because they have built something inside themselves that no external force can destroy. They have built discipline, they have built character, they have built self-control. They have built a mind that does not surrender when life becomes difficult. And I want you to think about this for a moment. What would happen if you became the person who could control your thoughts when everyone else was controlled by fear? What would happen if you became the person who could wake up early when everyone else was making excuses? What would happen if you became the person who could stay focused when everyone else was distracted? What would happen if you became the person who could keep promises to yourself? Because here is what most people don't understand. The promises you keep to yourself create your identity. Every time you say, I will do something, and you don't do it, you teach your mind that your own words have no value. But every time you make a commitment and honor it, you strengthen yourself. You become someone you can trust. And the person who trusts themselves has a power that most people never experience. I learned something years ago. The world does not reward potential. The world rewards discipline. There are millions of people with talent, millions of people with dreams, millions of people with ideas. But ideas do not change lives. Execution changes lives. Dreams do not build futures. Daily actions build futures. A person with average ability and extraordinary discipline will often go further than a person with extraordinary ability and no control over themselves. Because talent without discipline is a wasted gift. Knowledge without action is just information. Desire without commitment is just a wish. You have to become the type of person who can take control of yourself before you can take control of your future. I remember hearing a story about a young man who wanted success more than anything. He had dreams, he had ambition, he talked about becoming great. Every conversation he had was about what he wanted to achieve. I am going to change my life. I am going to start my business. I am going to become healthier. I am going to learn new skills. But years passed and nothing changed. One day, an older mentor asked him a simple question. Why do you keep waiting for your life to change? The young man replied, I don't know, maybe I need more opportunities, maybe I need more money, maybe I need better circumstances. The mentor smiled and said, no, you need a better relationship with yourself. Those words stayed with him. Because the truth was uncomfortable, he was not losing because the world was against him. He was losing because he was fighting against himself. His own laziness was his enemy. His own excuses were his enemy. His own lack of discipline was his enemy. And sometimes, the person standing between you and your dream is the person looking back at you in the mirror. Think about this. How many times have you made a promise to yourself and broken it? I'll start tomorrow. I'll exercise next week. I'll stop wasting time. I'll focus after this one last distraction. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Next month becomes another year. And suddenly, you wake up and realize that time did not stop waiting for you. Time kept moving. Life kept moving. Opportunities kept moving. The question is, did you move with them? Or did you remain the same person waiting for the perfect moment? Let me tell you something. There is no perfect moment. The person who waits for perfect conditions never begins. The person who masters themselves begins with imperfect conditions. They start tired, they start afraid, they start uncertain, but they start. And every single day, they become stronger. Success is not created in one massive moment. Success is created in thousands of small moments nobody sees. It is created when you choose discipline over comfort. It is created when you choose growth over entertainment. It is created when you choose your future over your temporary feelings. Because your feelings are powerful, but they are not always truthful. Your mind will sometimes tell you, you are too tired. Your emotions will tell you, you cannot do this. Your fear will tell you, what if you fail? But the disciplined person learns something important. You do not have to obey every thought you think. You do not have to follow every emotion you feel. You are not your fear. You are not your doubts. You are not your past mistakes. You are the person who decides what happens next. And that decision is where your power begins. A lot of people want external success while ignoring internal success. They want more money, but they don't want more discipline. They want respect, but they don't want responsibility. They want freedom, but they don't want self-control. But freedom is not the absence of discipline. Freedom is created by discipline. The person who cannot control their spending will never be financially free. The person who cannot control their habits will never be physically strong. The person who cannot control their emotions will always be controlled by circumstances. Surrender yourself, and you become the owner of your life. File to master yourself, and something else will always be the owner. Your phone will own your attention. Your comfort zone will own your ambition. Your fears will own your decisions. Other people's opinions will own your confidence. And years later, you will look back and wonder why you never became who you were capable of becoming. But you have a choice. Every morning you wake up, you are given another opportunity, another chance to improve, another chance to become stronger, another chance to build the person you want to become. The person you become is not created by one decision. It is created by repeated decisions. Small decisions, daily decisions, invisible decisions, the decision to read instead of scroll, the decision to work instead of complain, the decision to learn instead of make excuses, the decision to continue when quitting feels easier. This is where the compound effect changes everything. People underestimate small actions because they don't see immediate results. They plant a seed today and become disappointed because there is no tree tomorrow. But nature does not work that way. Growth takes time. A person who improves 1% every day may not look different after 1 week. They may not look different after 1 month. But after 1 year, they become someone completely different. Your habits are votes for the person you are becoming. Every action is a vote. Every choice is a vote. Every sacrifice is a vote. And eventually, those votes create your identity. You don't become successful and then develop discipline. You develop discipline, and that discipline creates success. You don't become confident and then take action. You take action, and action creates confidence. You don't become fearless and then face challenges. You face challenges, and through them, you become fearless. The strongest people are not people who never feel weakness. The strongest people are people who feel weakness but refuse to surrender. They feel fear, but they move forward. They feel doubt, but they continue. They experience failure, but they learn. Because they understand something. Pain is temporary. Regret is much heavier. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. The pain of waking up early, working hard, learning, and improving is temporary. But the pain of looking back years later and knowing you had more potential inside you, that pain can follow you for a lifetime. So ask yourself, Which pain are you willing to choose? The temporary pain of growth or the permanent pain of regret? Because every great person has chosen their pain. They chose the pain of sacrifice. They chose the pain of patience. They chose the pain of becoming. Nobody accidentally becomes extraordinary. Nobody wakes up one morning transformed without effort. Behind every successful person is a story of battles nobody saw. There were mornings they didn't want to get up. There were moments they wanted to quit. There were times they questioned themselves, but they continued. And that continuation became their power. You see, mastery is not something you achieve once. It is something you practice every single day. You do not master yourself in 1 year. You master yourself one decision at a time, one temptation at a time, one challenge at a time, one moment at a time. And the beautiful thing is this: every time you overcome yourself, you become stronger than the version of you that existed before. Every time you say no to distraction, you strengthen focus. Every time you say no to excuses, you strengthen responsibility. Every time you keep going when it is difficult, you strengthen your character. Character is built in moments when nobody is watching. Anybody can work hard when people are cheering. Anybody can stay motivated when everything is going well. But who are you when nobody is watching? Who are you when there is no applause? Who are you when the only person who knows your effort is you? That is where greatness is created. The quiet moments, the unseen moments. The moments when you choose your future self over your current comfort. Because one day, your future self will either thank you or question you. Your future health will depend on today's choices. Your future success will depend on today's discipline. Your future freedom will depend on today's sacrifices. And the person you become tomorrow is watching the choices you make today, because every morning you have the chance to rebuild yourself, to strengthen your mind, to sharpen your character, and to prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you have been showing the world. And the moment you truly understand that your greatest power has always been inside you, the way you look at challenges begins to change. Because you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Because that is the question that separates people who grow from people who remain stuck. The person who refuses responsibility looks at every challenge and sees an enemy. The person who is committed to growth looks at every challenge and sees a teacher. The same storm that destroys one person can strengthen another person. The same failure that makes one person quit can become the foundation of another person's success. The difference is not always the situation. The difference is the person facing the situation. Let me tell you something. Life will test you. It will test your patience. It will test your discipline. It will test your confidence. It will test whether your commitment is real or whether it only exists when things are comfortable. Because anybody can say they want success when the road is easy. Anybody can talk about greatness when everything is going their way. But your true character is revealed when the road becomes difficult, when nobody believes in you, when the results are slow, when the progress is invisible, when you are working every day and nobody notices. That is the moment where most people give up, and that is the exact moment where a different person is created. Think about a seed buried beneath the ground. Nobody sees what is happening. Nobody celebrates it. Nobody gives it attention. But beneath the surface, something is happening. The seed is breaking. The old version of itself is being destroyed. And what looks like destruction is actually transformation. Sometimes life does the same thing to you. Sometimes you feel like you are being buried. But maybe you are not being buried. Maybe you are being planted. Maybe the pressure you are experiencing is preparing you for a level you have never reached before. Because diamonds are not created without pressure. Muscles are not created without resistance. Strong minds are not created without challenges. A person who avoids every difficulty also avoids every opportunity to become stronger. You cannot build a powerful life with a fragile mindset. You cannot create an extraordinary future while protecting yourself from every uncomfortable moment. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. Your comfort zone feels safe, but it quietly steals your potential. It tells you, stay here. Don't risk anything. Don't change. Don't try. And if you listen to that voice long enough, one day you wake up and realize you have spent years protecting yourself from failure, but you also protected yourself from success, because success requires movement. Success requires courage. Success requires the willingness to become a beginner again and again. I want you to understand something important. The person you are today is not the person you have to remain. Your past may explain you, but it does not have to define you. Your mistakes may have taught you, but they do not have to imprison you. Your previous failures may have shaped you, but they do not have to control your future. Every person has a moment where they decide enough is enough, enough excuses, enough blaming, enough waiting, enough allowing old habits to control a new future. And that moment does not always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes quietly. Sometimes it happens when a person is sitting alone at night thinking about their life. Sometimes it happens when they look at themselves and realize they have been waiting for someone else to save them. But nobody is coming to rescue you from becoming who you were meant to become. You have to rescue yourself. You have to make the decision. You have to take ownership. Because the moment you take complete responsibility for your life is the moment you take back your power. Not partial responsibility. Client could be client responsibility. Your choices, your habits, your attitude, your effort, your reactions, your decisions. Because you cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control what happens inside you. And what happens inside you determines what happens around you. A person with a weak mindset sees obstacles everywhere. A person with a trained mind sees opportunities everywhere. The obstacle is the same. The person has changed. I once heard a story about two people who faced the same difficult situation. Both lost their jobs. Both had families depending on them. Both faced uncertainty. The first person said, "This is proof that life is against me. Nothing ever works out." He spent months complaining, months blaming, months waiting for someone to give him another chance. The second person looked at the same situation and said, "This is painful, but maybe this is the moment I have been avoiding. Maybe this is the moment I finally build something different." He learned new skills. He improved himself. He reached out to people. He worked when nobody was watching. A few years later, their lives looked completely different. Not because one person had fewer problems, but because one person used the problem as an excuse, and the other used the problem as fuel. Your circumstances do not decide your destiny. Your response does. Let me tell you something. The world is full of people waiting for motivation. They wait until they feel inspired. They wait until they feel confident. They wait until they feel ready. But successful people understand something most people never learn. Action creates motivation. Action creates confidence. Action creates momentum. You do not wait until you feel like doing the work. You train yourself to do the work whether you feel like it or not. That is discipline. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect. It is the decision to love your future self more than your present comfort. When you wake up early, you are telling yourself, "My goals matter." When you exercise, you are telling yourself, "My health matters." When you study, you are telling yourself, "My growth matters." When you walk away from distractions, you are telling yourself, "My future matters." Every disciplined action is a message to yourself. And over time, those messages become your identity. You become the person who follows through. You become the person who finishes what they start. You become the person who does not need someone else pushing them because they have developed their own inner drive. That is real power. Not controlling other people, not proving yourself to everyone, not seeking approval from the world. Real power is controlling yourself, because if you can control yourself, you can handle almost anything life puts in front of you. A person who controls their emotions can think clearly in chaos. A person who controls their impulses can build wealth. A person who controls their attention can create incredible things. A person who controls their habits can transform their entire life. Your attention is your life. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy goes, your results appear. But most people give their greatest asset away every single day. They give their attention to things that do not build them. They wake up and immediately consume instead of create. They compare instead of improve. They watch other people's lives instead of building their own. And slowly, without realizing it, they trade their dreams for distractions. But the person who masters themselves protects their mind. They are careful about what they consume. They are careful about who influences them. They understand that every thought planted in the mind is a seed, and whatever you repeatedly feed will eventually grow. Feed fear, and fear grows. Feed negativity, and negativity grows. Feed discipline, and discipline grows. Feed belief, and belief grows. Your mind is a garden. You cannot plant weeds and expect flowers. You cannot constantly tell yourself that you are weak, incapable, and unlucky, then expect confidence to appear. Your inner conversation matters. The words you repeat to yourself become the environment where your potential grows. Be careful what you say about yourself when nobody else is listening, because your mind is always listening. The person who says, "I can't," begins searching for reasons to stop. The person who says, "I will find a way," begins searching for solutions. The question is not whether challenges will come. They will. The question is, who will you become when they arrive? Will you become someone who breaks? Or will you become someone who bends but refuses to break? Because every challenge is asking you a question. Are you ready to grow? Are you ready to become stronger? Are you ready to leave behind the old version of yourself? And the answer you give through your actions will determine the life you create, because there comes a point where you realize that the greatest investment you will ever make is not in money, not in possessions, not in things that can disappear overnight. The greatest investment you will ever make is in yourself, your mind, your character, your discipline, your ability to keep moving forward when the world gives you every reason to stop. Because when you build yourself from the inside out, you create something nobody can take away from you. Because when you build yourself from the inside out, you create something nobody can take away from you. Not a person, not a situation, not a failure, not a rejection, not a difficult season. Because the strongest foundation is not built when life is easy. A house is not tested by sunshine. A ship is not tested while sitting in a calm harbor. A person's character is not tested when everything is going perfectly. The real test comes when the winds begin to blow. When life becomes uncertain. When your plans fall apart. When the people you expected to support you are no longer there. That is when you discover what you are truly made of. And maybe that is why some of the greatest transformations happen during the hardest seasons of life. Because comfort reveals very little. Challenge reveals everything. Think about the person you were 5 years ago. Think about the things that once seemed impossible. The problems you thought you could never overcome. The situations you thought would break you. But here you are. You survived moments you thought you would not survive. You walked through storms you thought would destroy you. You carried responsibilities you thought were too heavy. And yet, somehow, you kept moving. That should teach you something powerful. You are stronger than you think. But strength is not something you discover by avoiding difficulty. Strength is something you discover by facing it. A person who constantly runs away from challenges never gets to meet their own potential. They never discover the strength that was waiting inside them. They never discover the courage they were capable of developing, because courage is not created before the battle. Courage is created during the battle. You become brave by doing brave things. You become disciplined by practicing discipline. You become confident by keeping promises to yourself. You become powerful by overcoming yourself. Let me tell you something. The greatest victory you will ever achieve is not defeating another person. The greatest victory is defeating the version of yourself that keeps holding you back. The version that says, you are not ready. The version that says, wait for tomorrow. The version that says, someone else has it easier. That voice inside your mind can become your biggest obstacle or your greatest ally. And the difference depends on whether you train your mind or allow your mind to train you. Most people live their entire lives without realizing that they are constantly being programmed. Every conversation, every environment, every piece of information they consume, every person they spend time with, everything is shaping them. The question is not whether you are being influenced. The question is, who is influencing you? Are you allowing negativity to shape your thinking? Are you allowing fear to determine your decisions? Are you allowing temporary emotions to control permanent choices? Or are you intentionally building a mind that supports the future you desire? Because success begins long before anyone sees the results. It begins in the invisible world, the world of thoughts, the world of beliefs, the world of daily decisions. Before a person becomes successful externally, they usually become successful internally first. They change the way they think. They change the way they respond. They change the standards they have for themselves. And once the standard changes, the life begins to change. You see, people often ask, how do I become successful? But a better question is, what kind of person do I need to become to create the success I want? Because your results are always connected to who you are. If you want a bigger life, you have to become a bigger person. If you want greater opportunities, you have to develop greater abilities. If you want more freedom, you have to develop more responsibility. The world does not give rewards based on wishes. The world responds to value. And value is created through growth. I remember a lesson from a mentor that changed the way I viewed success. He said, do not chase success. Chase becoming valuable. When you become valuable, success begins chasing you. At first, many people misunderstand this. They think success is about getting something, more money, more recognition, more attention, more achievements. But real success begins with becoming something. Becoming disciplined, becoming reliable, becoming skilled. Becoming someone who can handle the blessings they are asking for. Because sometimes people pray for opportunities they are not prepared to handle. They ask for a bigger stage, but have not built the character required for that stage. They ask for more money, but have not developed the wisdom to manage it. They ask for influence, but have not developed the responsibility that comes with influence. Growth comes first. The person must expand before the life can expand. A small container cannot hold a large amount of water, and a small mindset cannot hold a large vision. That is why personal development is not optional. It is the foundation. Every morning you wake up, you are either becoming stronger or becoming weaker. There is no standing still. Your habits are taking you somewhere. The question is, do you like the direction they are taking you? Because your daily routine is creating your future in silence. The way you spend your mornings, the way you use your evenings, the conversations you choose, the thoughts you entertain, the work you avoid. The promises you keep, all of these things are writing the story of your life. And sometimes the reason people feel stuck is because they are waiting for a major breakthrough while ignoring the small daily behaviors that create breakthroughs. They want a different life without changing their daily life. But a different life requires different actions. You cannot continue doing what you have always done and expect a completely different result. Something has to change. Maybe it is your discipline. Maybe it is your environment. Maybe it is your attitude. Maybe it is the excuses you have been protecting. Because sometimes we protect the very things that are preventing us from growing. We protect our comfort. We protect our habits. We protect our old identity. But every new level requires leaving something behind. The person you want to become cannot always carry the habits of the person you used to be. There comes a moment where you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice to become who I truly want to become? Because every great achievement has a price. The question is not whether there is a price. There always is. The question is whether you are willing to pay it. The athlete pays the price through hours of training. The entrepreneur pays the price through uncertainty and risk. The student pays the price through focus and patience. The leader pays the price through responsibility. Everybody pays something. But many people pay the price of comfort without realizing it. They pay with lost opportunities. They pay with unrealized potential. They pay with the painful feeling of knowing they could have done more. And that is a heavy price, because there is a difference between being tired because you worked towards your dream and being tired because you avoided your dream. One creates pride, the other creates regret. One builds you, the other slowly breaks your confidence. This is why discipline is such a powerful force. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to suffer. Discipline is about choosing which suffering is worth experiencing. The discomfort of training, the discomfort of learning, the discomfort of changing, the discomfort of growing. These temporary struggles create a future where you have more choices, but avoiding all discomfort creates a future where you have fewer choices. The person who refuses to control themselves eventually becomes controlled by life, but the person who learns self-mastery begins to create their own path. They stop reacting to everything. They start responding with wisdom. They stop being controlled by every emotion. They start leading themselves. And self-leadership is where every form of leadership begins. How can you lead others if you cannot lead yourself? How can you inspire others if you cannot inspire yourself? How can you build something great if you cannot build your own character? Your relationship with yourself sets the foundation for every other relationship in your life. The promises you make to yourself matter. The standards you hold for yourself matter. The way you speak to yourself matters because the person you spend the most time with in this world is yourself. Make sure that person is someone you respect. Make sure that person is someone you are proud to become, because every day you are creating that person, and the choices you make in the quiet moments, when nobody is watching and nobody is applauding, are the choices that will eventually decide the direction of your entire life. And now I want you to remember this moment, because your life is not changed by what you hear. Your life is changed by what you decide. 1,000 motivational speeches can inspire you, but one committed decision can transform you. One decision to stop making excuses. One decision to stop waiting. One decision to stop doubting yourself. One decision to finally become the person you have always known you could become. Because deep inside you, there is a version of yourself that is waiting, a stronger version, a wiser version, a disciplined version, a version that wakes up with purpose, a version that keeps promises, a version that does not run from challenges, a version that does not need permission from anyone to chase greatness. That person is not created someday in the future. That person is created by the choices you make today. Do not underestimate today. Today may look ordinary. Today may feel like just another day. But every great transformation begins with an ordinary day when someone decides they are no longer willing to live an ordinary life. The person you become 5 years from now is watching what you do today. Your future health is watching. Your future success is watching. Your future confidence is watching. Your future freedom is watching. And one day you will meet that future version of yourself. The question is, will that person look back and say, thank you for the sacrifices you made? Or will that person look back and ask, why did you give up when you were so close? Because regret does not come from trying and failing. Regret comes from knowing you had more inside you and never gave it a chance. Regret comes from carrying dreams you never pursued. Regret comes from wondering what could have happened if you had believed in yourself just a little more. Do not let your future self pay the price for your present comfort. Do not trade a lifetime of possibility for a few moments of temporary ease. Comfort feels good today, but discipline creates freedom tomorrow. The work you do when nobody sees it becomes the success everybody notices later. The hours nobody applauds become the achievements everybody celebrates. The sacrifices nobody understands become the life everybody respects. Remember this, nobody becomes great by accident. Greatness is built. It is built through small choices repeated over time. It is built through consistency when motivation disappears. It is built through discipline when emotions tell you to quit. It is built through faith when results are not visible yet. You do not need to change your entire life in one day. You need to change what you do every day. One better decision, one better habit, one better thought, one more step forward. Because small actions, repeated with commitment, can create a life you once thought was impossible. Never forget the power of becoming 1% better. The world may not notice your growth today. Your friends may not understand your journey. People may not see the battles you are fighting inside. But keep going. The seed does not stop growing because nobody is clapping. The sun does not stop rising because nobody is watching. And you should not stop becoming because nobody recognizes your progress yet. Your purpose is bigger than applause. Your mission is bigger than approval. Your destiny is bigger than your current circumstances. You were not given dreams by accident. You were not given ambition by accident. You were not given the desire to become more by accident. There is something inside you that is calling you forward. Listen to it, protect it, build it, because the world does not need another person who gave up on themselves. The world needs people who mastered themselves, people who chose discipline over distraction, people who chose courage over fear, people who chose growth over comfort, people who decided that their past would not be stronger than their future, and that person can be you. But the decision has to be made. Not tomorrow, not when everything is perfect. Not when you feel completely ready. Because ready is not a feeling, ready is a decision. The moment you decide to take responsibility for your life is the moment your life begins to change. Stand up for yourself. Believe in yourself. Work on yourself. Invest in yourself. Because nobody can build your character for you. Nobody can develop your discipline for you. Nobody can chase your purpose for you. That responsibility belongs to you. And that responsibility is not a burden. It is a gift. Because it means your future is still in your hands. Your story is still being written. Your next chapter has not been decided yet. You are not trapped by where you started. You are defined by where you choose to go. So starting today, make a promise to yourself. A promise that you will stop negotiating with your potential. A promise that you will stop allowing fear to make your decisions. A promise that you will become the person your dreams require you to become. Wake up with intention. Work with discipline. Learn with humility. Grow with patience. Move with purpose. And when life tests you, remember who you are becoming. Remember why you started. Remember that every challenge is building the person who can handle the future you desire. Because the greatest victory is not proving something to the world. The greatest victory is proving something to yourself. Proving that you can keep going. Proving that you can change. Proving that you can rise.